Imagine walking into a courtroom thinking it will be routine, only to realize you've just walked into a trap of your own making. That's exactly what happened when a confident police officer tried to turn a simple traffic stop into a conviction, only to see his story fall apart in front of everyone. What started as a claim of following too closely and improper lane changes quickly turned into a masterclass in courtroom strategy. The defendant, Sydney Steele, didn't just show up. She arrived prepared. Facts, timelines, and receipts in hand. She methodically dismantled the officer's testimony, one question at a time. Watching this unfold is like witnessing a slow-motion unraveling of arrogance and overconfidence. The courtroom shifted immediately. Energy changed, tension rose, and what was expected to be a quick procedural hearing became a spectacle of accountability. This story isn't just about traffic laws. It's about the clash between power and preparation, assumption and evidence, arrogance and truth. And it shows how even small cases can reveal the bigger picture of justice. 1. The incident that started it all. On March 20th, 2024, Sydney Steele, 6 months pregnant, was driving her 2024 Chevrolet Trax in Clayton County, Georgia. She stopped at a gas station, grabbed some water, and pulled back onto the road. The officer, Lieutenant Jonathan Seary of the Clayton County Sheriff's Office, began observing her. According to him, she was changing lanes improperly and following too closely behind another vehicle. From his perspective, this was enough to justify a traffic stop. Seary claimed she didn't signal lane changes properly, changed lanes multiple times, and drove dangerously close to another car. He asserted that if the lead vehicle braked suddenly, an accident could occur. The officer believed he had everything he needed, a clear violation and a straightforward ticket. But here's the crucial part. The only car in front of Steele during this drive was the officer himself. The defendant immediately realized that the officer's claims were based on shaky observations rather than concrete evidence. What seemed simple was about to become a courtroom battlefield. 2. The court hearing begins. As the hearing started, the energy in the courtroom shifted. Seary expected a routine ticket confirmation, a quick nod from the judge, and minimal questioning. Instead, he faced a defense that was sharp, focused, and unrelenting. The state presented Lieutenant Seary first. He outlined his experience, spanning years with both the Clayton County Police and Sheriff's Office, highlighting his post-certification, his authority to issue citations, and his role in monitoring traffic. Then came the details of March 20th, his narrative of improper lane changes and following too closely. He described observing Steele from a different lane and claimed he had an unobstructed view to judge the distance between her vehicle and another. The courtroom watched him speak with confidence, believing in his authority. But this confidence was deceptive. Seary's testimony relied entirely on visual estimations, assumptions, and the claim that Steele had violated traffic laws. Little did he know, the defendant's strategy would soon expose the cracks in his story. The defendant takes the floor. Sydney Steele's testimony was calm, deliberate, and precise. She described her actions in detail, exiting the gas station, observing the traffic light, positioning her vehicle safely behind the officer, and carefully executing lane changes. Crucially, she noted that no other vehicle was in front of her, undermining the officer's following too closely claim. Steele explained how she judged the officer's distance using driver's training techniques, emphasizing safety. She described adjusting lanes to avoid a collision because Seary was dangerously close. Her testimony highlighted the impossibility of his claims from a factual perspective. He was not behind another car, yet accused her of tailgating. Unlike the officer, Steele remained composed. She didn't raise her voice or argue emotionally. She used facts, logic, and direct observation to counter his narrative, forcing him to respond to precise, carefully framed questions. What was expected to be a one-sided hearing quickly turned into a battle of credibility. 4. Challenging the officer's observations. The defense focused on the key flaw in Seary's testimony, his ability to judge distances from another lane using only his mirrors. Steele asked the questions that exposed the officer's assumptions. How could he claim to see her tires? How could he know the distance between her car and another vehicle that didn't exist? Seary admitted he could only estimate bumper distance, not tire distance, revealing a critical uncertainty in his account. This precision-driven questioning was surgical. Each answer forced the officer to clarify his observations, exposing inconsistencies. He had assumed facts, relied on visual guesses, and now struggled to maintain credibility. The courtroom could see him falter. His confident facade began to crumble. It became clear that the hearing was no longer about lane changes or following distance. It was about evidence versus assumption, fact versus authority, and a defendant willing to hold an officer accountable for overstated claims. Each question, carefully chosen, forced Siri to confront the weaknesses in his own testimony. Dismantling the tailgating claim. The pivotal moment came when Steele forced Siri to explain which lane he was in and how he observed her vehicle. He admitted he had been in a different lane, meaning his tailgating claim was essentially impossible to verify. This revelation struck at the heart of the officer's case. The defense strategy was clear: corner him with precision until the testimony collapsed under its own vagueness. By having him admit that no concrete measurement or obstruction-free observation existed, Steele exposed the claim as largely speculative. The judge's patience visibly thinned as Siri's answers became inconsistent. The logic was undeniable. An officer cannot accuse someone of tailgating without direct evidence. Assumptions, visual guesses, and supposed observations do not meet the burden of proof. The courtroom witnessed an authority figure's narrative unravel, step by step, while the defendant maintained composure. 6. Lane changes and safety. Siri testified that Steele changed lanes multiple times without signaling. The defense countered with detailed explanations of how the car's mechanics and traffic conditions made it impossible to switch lanes unsafely. Steele described how she only changed lanes to avoid potential collisions caused by the officer following too closely. Her testimony highlighted her safety concerns, particularly significant given her pregnancy at the time. She emphasized that she was mindful of both her own safety and that of other drivers, contradicting the officer's assertion of reckless behavior. By combining technical knowledge of her car, situational awareness, and a clear narrative, Steele painted a picture of a cautious, responsible driver rather than a violator of traffic laws. The contrast between her calm logic and the officer's shaky testimony became stark, shifting the courtroom's perception decisively. 7. Judge and courtroom dynamics. Throughout the hearing, the judge played a measured role, allowing the facts to emerge organically. However, as Siri's testimony faltered, it was clear the courtroom's perception shifted. The judge asked clarifying questions when inconsistencies appeared, signaling skepticism of the officer's assertions. The courtroom atmosphere changed dramatically. What began as a routine traffic case became a demonstration of judicial process, emphasizing fairness and scrutiny. The officer's repeated admissions, forced by precise questioning, eroded his credibility. Every hesitant response and inconsistent statement amplified the impact of Steele's meticulous testimony. Observers could see that authority alone does not determine outcomes. The court requires evidence, clarity, and logic. This hearing became an educational moment for anyone watching. Legal proceedings depend not on confidence or badges, but on demonstrable facts and careful argumentation. 8. The defense's final blow. The decisive moment came when Steele systematically recounted the day's events, exposing contradictions in the officer's account. She emphasized that no other car was present, that the officer followed too closely, and that her lane changes were carefully executed to maintain safety. This testimony, coupled with detailed questioning, made it impossible for Siri to maintain his claim. The tailgating accusation, once confident and assertive, crumbled under scrutiny. The courtroom could witness a collapse not through dramatic theatrics, but through methodical reasoning and factual clarity. The strategy was simple yet devastating: confront authority with evidence, logical analysis, and calm persistence. By focusing on the impossibility of the officer's observations and the factual context of the incident, Steele effectively dismantled the prosecution's case without aggression, demonstrating that preparation and precision can overcome even intimidating opposition. Stand on the side of truth. If there's one takeaway from this story, it's simple: truth and preparation triumph over arrogance and assumption. Sidney Steele's methodical dismantling of Lieutenant Siri's testimony proves that even against authority, Facts win when presented clearly and calmly. This is the type of courtroom moment that inspires reflection, debate, and awareness. It's also a powerful reminder that every citizen can defend themselves when armed with evidence and logic. Arrogance may enter a courtroom loudly, but truth always leaves the strongest impact. If you enjoyed this documentary-style deep dive, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more real courtroom stories where preparation meets justice. Until next time, stay aware, stand firm, and always prioritize truth over assumption.